every time a model ships with bigger context window. The same headline draw. RAG is dead. If your model can swallow a million tokens, why bother with chunking, embedding, or vector databases? I'm LaRA. I have spent 2 decades compounding technical expertise across the big tech and startup ecosystem. Today I leave local M and herbosome, and there we are trying to push some boundaries with agentic AI. That's enough for me. Now let's start on the topic. So what actually died and what's very much alive? The 2023 pipeline, if I go back, the documents goes in, what comes out is dependent entirely how well you chunk them. The spoiler, generally not well enough. 512 tokens, 1024 tokens, 2048 tokens afterwards. Pick your poison. Table gets split in half, function defined separate from usage. The retriever never knew what it was cutting. The cosine similarity returns the chunk that look right but aren't. And whoever has worked on finding hard negatives, well, we all know how much pain it is. No diagnostic signals. You get confident wrong answer with no way to debug them. Well, those are all good reasons why to be frustrated. And the final step. Send a retriever chunk to LLM and just finger cross. Pray the answer is there. No validation, no feedback, no self-correction. Well, that's not engineering. That was pretty much picking up playing a probability against the probability. Something in a modern word also known as a gambling. So what has changed in 2026 after the agentic AI patterns been emerging? Now look at that. Same document, but everything after this looks different. The layout analysis, which come around 2024 and then 25, become very hot topic, and it's a very important aspect of ranking modern day. The table extraction, the hierarchical chunking, chunks you know where they sit. You basically DNA profile the whole document. The BM25, the brilliant algorithm. I have worked on BM25 on so many projects of content management beforehand, the RAG and AI. It has roots back in 90s. Then a cross-attention render. The BEIR benchmark shows the BM25 is still competitive out of the domain. Means most of the benchmark has hardly added 10 to 15% of semantic value on top of the BM25, and some of the time BM25 actually outperform the semantic. But the hybrid generally run through BM25 and heavy lift mostly from BM25. It's a brilliant algorithm. Combining both covers each misses. The re-ranker cut the failure generally up to 5.7 to 2% based on what we have seen in our in-house projects and with the client projects as well. The agentic retrieval adapt per query, and this is the game changer. Instead of a one-shot search, the agent decide how to search. And that's where the modern structure of reinforced learning using the feedback loop is also playing a really brilliant role, especially if you are talking about scientific discoveries, medical research and other. The feedback loop, the reinforced learning loop, is a really valuable asset to sitting just in front of the query. So how many times? What do we with the result? The model control the retrieval strategy and not the fixed pipeline. That's most important. The RAG is a concept, it's not an architecture. And this is how we are evolving this concept into the new form of design and architecture, the agentic retrieval. The long context does the filtering. So long context is not bad in that sense as long as the value is probably delivered. The reader got smarter and bigger. It reasoned over the safe chunk in a generous context window. The retriever finds even the needle and can read it and thread it. So what's the hybrid retrieval? The advanced RAG in 2026, most other pattern implement the hybrid retrieval, the same what we saw BM25 plus vectors. But here also the agentic retrieval techniques play a very crucial role. instead of a simple mathematical cosine functions or simple mathematical ranking function. The agentic retrieval does provide a true game changer with a hybrid retrieval, the contextual embedding. This is also a very interesting aspect. Understand the contextual embedding where the Anthropic approach preparing the document level context to each chunk before embedding. And that is also very important when we are dealing with the legal complex technical solutions as well. Medical and legal both benefit from contextual embedding to a significant level. Chunks get semantic GPS coordinates. It develops its own internal navigation and ranking system. The third is agentic retrieval, which we discussed before as well in this video. The model controls the search strategy, deciding what to search, how many rounds, and when the results are good enough. No more one-shot pipeline, just like a simple scenario, as if a model can decide what's the weight should be between the B and 25 versus the semantic dense search. When it identifying certain nouns or certain medical terms exist in a query, it can actually change the weightage by simply clicking the model with some sort of a probabilistic and non-deterministic design pattern. It actually delivers a significant improvement over the static re-ranking algorithms. The structured pricing, and this is very important. The parsing has been really a concern before, and that was the true bottleneck. The algorithms and the architecture was never, but the parsing is. And with the agentic parsing, it can also improve to the next frontiers. The layout-aware ingestion that keeps the table intact, preserve the section hierarchy, tagging the metadata, and that's where we come with a graph approach as well. Loosely parsing was always a silent killer, but now it is fixed, and we can actually decide how much value the overall process can project and how much cost we can allow in terms of LLM driven parsing as well. And these all are changing the RAG in 2026 to a new levels. Let's talk about money. Without that, there's nothing gonna make sense in terms of solution. Don't make things for just fun, though I do make, but not everyone in enterprise do make things so far. RAG query cost, generally about a penny. It should not go in dollars. Full context, 0.1 to 0.35. That's my internal numbers I'm sharing. Building RAG costs generally get around, depends what we are building, but generally a simple RAG could go up to 3,000 to 6,000. In AI driven and AI assisted development, it should not take a lot more. Here is a key insight. The setup cost is a one time. Every query after that costs penny. The long context charges you the full token price every single time. At 10 daily queries, well, rank already pulling ahead. And the 30K, you are saving 10 times more. Then there is the latency. Every input tokens add, let's say, in my use case, 0.24 millisecond time to the first token. At the 1000 token, that's 24 seconds before the user see anything. The RAG serves the answer under the second because it only sends the retrieval chunk. And that's where throwing a million token versus throwing 200,000 or 100,000 or 50,000 token make a huge difference. We run internally at LocalM. We are a very heavy RAG users because of the market research and quantitative research. Our numbers can even go up to the 1 million queries internally. And the rank has still make perfect sense with a new and more advanced architecture. So let's understand the academic evidences as well. The DeepMind EMNNP 2024 paper is still a gold standard in my opinion. Whenever we are talking and starting about the long context, this is the really good starting point. It has conclusively given an answer the RAG is significantly cheaper over the long context windows and lets modern decide when the retrieval is even needed. There is another test that happened on LaRA. They have validated around 2,326 cases across the 11 LN and there was no silver bullet. But RAG consistently win on the dialogue grounding and the hallucination control. And this is the another point. All the results at the higher context window has provided us enough evidence to conclude that hallucination can go out of control when context size is going beyond 200K as of today in 2026 April models. The BEIR even shows that MEM25 30 years old algorithm still rocks. It has a strong zero-shot baseline, especially in the scientific, medical, and the legal research, when the keywords are the genuinely gold mines to dig for. But there are some another paper which actually also support these evidences in more recent time, the Lost in the Middle paper, which is like another one which really good point, good middle ground to anchor your strategy into. So here is my view. Native RAG, or we call it NI-RAG, chunk-embed-pray pipeline, just that's dead. That is no go. And if you're actually using it, then you're missing a whole lot of AI evolution that happened in last 3 years. The context destruction has killed it. It's not the pattern is wrong, it's the context destruction has killed it. But the advanced RAG that we discussed just now in 2026 is definitely thriving, winning, and is actually the better engineering approach than just throwing a one variant tokens at your LLM and hoping that it will return some good analysis. But that's the best 2026 system. And that means the underlying components are still in use. They are not dead. Yes, the naive pattern is dead. We need more advanced agentic pattern. So let's understand in a simple way how we can make our query or decision. Focus on the corpus size, the query volume, latency requirement, and data freshness. Data freshness can make huge difference based what decision you should carry. Over 500,000 tokens, no concurrent model handles reliably in a single context, you need retrieval. There is no way other way around. Under 200K, long context is viable, above a threshold, and retrieval is mandatory. The cost, you should always keep a good eye on that. Above 5,000 daily queries or 6,000 daily queries, based on the baseline that we deliver, generally that's a kind of a break even when the RAG maintenance and the RAG development perfectly makes sense for us. Every input tokens add some sort of a latency to TTFT, time to the first fetch. 100K context could actually deal around 24 minutes waiting. So it is important that if your system is a live system, you may need to make some adjustment around that process as well. But generally, if it is acceptable, then always consider 24 seconds is not a bad deal to have some cost-effective RAG. But if you want 2 second sub-second responses, then retrieval is all the any option. Doesn't matter whether you pull 1 time, 20 times, or 20 times. If you are after the performance and your retrieval of live data has value, then yes, you are moving towards retrieval. There is no other option available. The RAG index is updated incrementally and long context require reloading everything. The real-time index made them in manual context reloading. Manual context is one of the more powerful methods than just throwing all the context, because then we can actually control the hallucination. For the many advanced use cases in medical and legal where the density is very much clustered, on certain words and certain type of information. That means the hallucination is a very common problem because density is too high in a small area. And there the manual contextual encoding can be really helpful. And that's when a case has to be also considered. So all four know small, static, low volume, latency tolerant, and acceptably dense. Yes, the long context is sufficient. Zero infra, zero setup. You throw and get it out. That's it. So that's a wrap up today's lab. Now I want to hear from you. What's your biggest challenge you're facing with the RAG pipeline now? Are you struggling with chunking, hybrid retrieval, or something entirely? Have your organization moved on? Or give your thoughts, doubts, questions. I'm more than happy to answer. We'll be selecting the best comment to join us in our exclusive upcoming live sessions. We are about to start live sessions from April. So please share good comments, good views, and we will bring you and invite you into our live sessions. Finally, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. We are also about to release our Harness LLM Retrieval course on YouTube. So make sure you remain subscribed and notified. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments and in the next lesson or the video